Hey guys, YouTube Boy 100 here. Alright, now here I am with another Steven Spielberg movie review. And now I am with a review for Jurassic Park. So, yeah, what can I say about this film people haven't said already? This film is just an absolute classic. Yeah, this film, yeah, everyone knows this film. Yeah, it just is yeah, it just has, groundbreaking effects. And just great action scenes, and yeah, this film just really does have it all. This is just like an instant classic, really. And yeah, I've seen this film like so many times, and I really do love it. Yeah, this really is like one of my favorite films ever. Once again, just like Hook. Yeah, this is just like such a great film. Yeah, I would say, like I've been like saying before, how I've been like placing like other these films that I've reviewed so far, and like Steven Spielberg's like top 10 films or top 5 films ever. Yeah, this film I would place in Steven Spielberg's top 3 films of all time. Yeah, this really is like one of Steven Spielberg's best movies ever. And yeah, of course, like this was like Steven Spielberg's highest grossing film, and I think it even still is today. Yeah, it's just, yeah, so yeah, this film is really held in a high regard by a lot of people. Yeah, made a ton of money. He like did really well. So yeah, just yeah, everyone already really knows all about this film. So yeah, there's really not a whole lot that I can really add to it. Yeah, this film is just like really just so great. And yeah, of course, like this film just really did have. Yeah, this film just really does have like just total groundbreaking effects. Even today, like the effects of all the dinosaurs still do like really hold up. Yeah, it really just does look like so realistic, and you really do believe that the dinosaurs really are there interacting with the humans. So yeah, it just really, these effects really are just like absolutely phenomenal and still do hold up to this day. So well, yeah, and also, of course, like once again, John Williams just delivers like an absolutely phenomenal score. Yeah, everyone knows like the theme song to this film. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, yeah, that's just like a phenomenal track. Again, even like the rest of the music in this film is like really great as well. And so yeah, this film of course also does have like a really good cast. It stars of course Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern, and Richard Attenborough, and it also does feature actors like Samuel Jackson, Wayne Knight, Bob Peck, Martin Ferraro, B.D. Wong. So yeah, it really does like feature like a really good cast. Yeah, so yeah, and the cast all does, for the most part, they do a pretty good job in this film. Yeah, and of course, this film is also like based on the novel by Michael Crichton. Is that how it said, Crichton? Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the name, but yeah. Though, yeah, this film is kind of like very loosely based on the book. Because I haven't actually like read the book, but my brother's read the book, and he said how this film doesn't really like follow the book all that much. Like my brother has said how the character of John Hammond in the book, like he was like a lot different than how he actually is in the movie. My brother has actually said in the book, John Hammond was actually like kind of a twisted person. Like yeah, he actually has said like in the book he actually like felt that he would actually like sacrifice his grandchildren to the dinosaurs in order to protect the park. So yeah, John Hammond I've heard was like kind of twisted in the book, and yeah, in the film he's really not like that. He really is like a caring grandfather, and he really is like a nice guy. So yeah, yeah, that's like what I've heard about it. Yeah, I don't really know like what really what else this film really has like changed from the book, but yeah, regardless of like how faithful this movie is to the original book, this still is like of course just a phenomenal film. Yeah, it really is just a classic. Everyone has loved it, and I really am glad that I actually did get this have the theater experience for this film back when it was released in 3D in 2013. You guys remember that back like for that a short time? In 2013 when this movie was like re-released in the theaters in 3D. Yeah, I went to go see it in 3D, and I'm really glad I did. That was just an awesome experience, and it does make me glad that I was able to get the theater experience to see this film, and especially like and that way seeing it in 3D, that was just like so freaking awesome. So yeah, this really is just like such a really really great film. I would definitely give this film 3.75 stars out of 4. I mean, this film is just like an absolute classic. Yeah, though yeah, though admittedly there isn't really like that much. The film really isn't like that violent if you think about it. I mean, and of course, like it is like very intense with all the dinosaur chases and stuff. But yeah, it's really not all that violent when it comes down to it, because we really don't really get to see really like that many deaths in this one from the dinosaurs. Like in this film, there's only like 5 deaths. That's from dinosaurs in here, and even then, like there, it really doesn't even look that violent. Like a lot of the murders in this film really like we don't actually like it's not shown on screen. Like a lot of the murders, like with the opening murder, you're like we don't ever actually see the dinosaur like like killing the guy. It's just like we like see like what is happening to the guy, but we don't actually really see what the dinosaur actually does do to him. Yeah, the only like actual death that we do actually like see on screen is is Gennaro's death. That's yeah, like Don Gennaro's death, like when the T Rex devours him. That's like really the only death we actually do see like on screen. Everything else we really don't. Like Nedry's death, like it actually just cuts the outside of the Jeep when he gets killed. With Arnold, yeah, we don't ever actually see him actually really getting attacked. We just like see the aftermath of what happens to his arm, and then with Robert in this film, like what happens to him? Like we do like see like the a Velociraptor attack him, but we don't actually like see the him actually being like killed and devoured by the Velociraptor. So yeah, so we really it's really like a lot of the violence in this film really is like not really like shown, like it's not really like seen on screen, and there's really like no actual gore or anything in this film. Though yeah, it is like a PG-13 movie, and I guess like there were a lot of kids that actually did that like were interested in seeing this film. So I guess I can understand like why they really didn't like really make it like really like gory and violent stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this film, like if you think about it, this actually could have been like an R-rated film with like a lot of gore and violence into it. Like I think that it would be interesting to kind of like see like a director's cut version of this film. Like, well, yeah, if see a like another edited edition of this film where you like see like give it like an R rating, and you can actually like make it like more violent, see like gore and stuff, like see blood going everywhere and stuff. I think it would actually be interesting to kind of see it like that. But regardless of like all that, like despite the fact that like we really don't see much violence in this film, and the deaths and the murders from the dinosaurs are really like nothing that we don't actually like see straight up. Yeah, they are still like really good effects, and everything in this film like definitely does look really good, and it is just like a phenomenal film. So yeah, all right. So yeah, I think I've gone on enough about all that. So yeah, let me just get right into the premise of this film. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like pointless going over the premise, I think, seeing how yeah, who doesn't really know about this film? But yeah, I guess I'll just like keep it like short and sweet and just like go over it as quick as possible, since like pretty much all of you really yeah, pretty much everyone has seen this film, so yeah, they all know the story. Yeah, but yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about the premise anyway. All right. So the movie opens up on an island on Is named Isla Nublar, which is like 120 miles west of the Costa Rican coast, and it's shown that um on a Jurassic Park, there are some workers that are trying to transfer a Velociraptor to a crate, but it ended up going wrong, and the Velociraptor ended up attacking the gatekeeper, and ended up like killing the gatekeeper. Though, yeah, it happened enough. Like we didn't actually like see what the raptor was actually doing to the gatekeeper. Like it just like showed that the gatekeeper was just like being just uh swung up and down, and they're just like slowly being pulled in, and like the other workers were like trying to stop the Velociraptor, but then it just like then like just showed um the the game warden, Robert Muldoon, was like trying to save the gatekeeper, but eventually lost his grip, and yeah, the gatekeeper ended up being killed off screen. Yeah, yeah, and then due to that, then the investors of the park then like made a demand that experts should visit the park to certify the park's safety. Safety, yeah, and then and the investor's attorney, Donald Gennaro, invited Ian Malcolm, who's a mathematician and chaos theorist, who's played by Jeff Goldblum, to the island, and then John Hammond, an industrialist who's played by Richard Attenborough, then visited Dr. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, and Dr. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern. And then he invited them to come to the island, and they all then agreed to do it. And then, as that was going on, then it showed that Hammond's lead computer programmer for Jurassic Park, Dennis Nedry, who's played by Wayne Knight, was bribed by Lewis Dodgson, who was a guy that was actually working for Hammond's corporate rival, to steal some fertilized dinosaur embryos. And he like gave Nedry a canister that was like disguised as a Barbasol shaving cream can for him to actually place the embryos in and transfer them to like a guy who's on the who is actually going to be on the east dock of the island the next night for Nedry to actually hand over the embryos to bring him back into San Jose. Yeah, and then eventually Hammond and Alan, Ellie, Ian, and Gennaro then arrived on Jurassic Park. And then as they were picked up by a couple of jeeps, then they eventually then discovered a live Brachiosaurus with a herd of Parasaurolophus. And yeah, of course, like everyone was just so shocked to actually see like actual dinosaurs on the island. And then once Hammond then brought all of them back to the visitor center, through a video presentation, it was like showing that how they actually were able to have dinosaurs. He explained that they actually ended up extracting dinosaur DNA from mosquitoes that were preserved in amber, and there was DNA used from frogs to fill in gaps of the dinosaur's genome. And it was also explained by one of the medical workers for Jurassic Park, Dr. Henry Wu, that the dinosaurs are all female on the island to prevent any breeding. But Ian was like saying that could like inevitably break down. Yeah. And then eventually, like, they then witnessed like the hatching of a baby velociraptor, and then as they like visited the raptor enclosure, it then like showed how all the carnivores were like fed live animals for it. It like showed they were putting in like elk and cow and goat and like a bunch of all those kinds of live animals in to feed the other carnivore dinosaurs with. Yeah. 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 And then eventually then the Hammond's two grandchildren, Lex and Tim, then arrived at the park, and then they joined Alan, Ellie, Ian, and Gennaro for a tour of the island, or a tour of the park. And then Hammond was just like watching the tour from the control room of the park. And it showed that the two vehicles used for the tour just had were automatic motors, so they moved on their own without any drivers. But yeah, it turned out that that tour really wasn't like going as Hammond had planned, because like most dinosaurs really like did not appear on the tour, and then eventually Alan and Ellie, and then eventually Ian, Lex, Tim, and Gennaro then ended up encountering a sick Triceratops. And then it showed that a veterinarian is also there with the Triceratops, then and yeah, of course, like Ellen and Ellie just were absolutely amazed to see a Triceratops there. Yeah, and then then a storm ended up like approaching the island, and yeah, as a lot of the park employees left the island on their boat for the mainland, and Ellie then decided to stay behind with the veterinarian to finish up with the Triceratops, and everyone else then returned back to the vehicles on the tour. Yeah, but then yeah, over time, then as the time came for Dennis and Nedry to start to bring over the embryos to the East Dock, to bring to Dachshund's representative. And then Nedry ended up deactivating the park, all the security systems at the park, to gain access to the embryo storage to get a hold of the embryos. And then eventually, like, pretty much the entire power of the whole park shut down. And then Hammond and his chief engineer, Ray Arnold, who played by Samuel L. Jackson, tried to turn all the power back on, but they couldn't get it. Yeah. And then yeah, the tour vehicles ended up being stalled right beside where the enclosure for the Tyrannosaurus Rex is supposed to be. Yeah. And then eventually, then as the vehicles were then just stalled, then like we could hear like some thuds as well as some rumbling, and then eventually, then the T-Rex then eventually appeared, and then Gennaro then bolted for the nearby porta potty. And then after Lex very stupidly was like shining a light, out. Right, then the T-Rex then ended up attacking the vehicle that Lex and Tim were in. But then, yeah, Alan and Ian were able to lure the T-Rex away with flares, and the T-Rex was chasing Ian with the flare. And then, yeah, the T-Rex then just ended up knocking Ian out cold and just taking apart tore down the entire porta potty. And then as Ian was like buried by some fallen trees, then the T-Rex then ended up devouring Gennaro and killing him. And then yeah, Alan was able to get Lex out of the car, but yeah, the T-Rex then came back and knocked the car over the barrier with and Tim was still in it. Yeah. Yeah, and then meanwhile, then yeah, Nedry was trying to like rush to the East Dock in a jeep to transfer the embryos, but yeah, he ended up like getting lost in the rainstorm, and eventually he ended up like crashing his jeep. And as he was trying to pull it out, he eventually ended up being like attacked by a Dilophosaurus and being killed by it. Yeah. Then yeah, as a doctor, Alan was like trying to then like climb up the tree to rescue Tim. He was able to get Tim out of the car, but then as they were like trying to climb back down, like the car then was starting to like come back down as well. And then once Alan and Tim finally got down to the ground, the car just ended up coming back down and dropping them inside again. Yep. And then as Ellie and Robert then like went to search the scene to bring everybody back to the visitor center, they then saw all the carnage and then found Ian injured. But then yeah, they were able to like like escape as they were being chased by the T-Rex, but yeah, they were able to outrun the T-Rex. Like, yeah, and then and yeah, then Alan, Tim, and Lex then just took shelter in atop of a tall tree overnight. And then the next morning they then eventually found like there were some broken eggshells, and then Dr. Grant then like discovered that dinosaurs may have been breeding, and after like the West African frog DNA, it was actually able to change their sex in a single sex environment. Yeah, and then back in the control center with Hammond, Arnold, Ellie, Ian, and Robert, they then like realized that they really couldn't do anything to decide for what Nedry did. So they finally uh, realized that the only way to really undo everything Nedry did was to actually shut down the entire system and reboot it. And so then they then ended up shutting down the entire system in the park. But then, yeah, they then ended up turning it back on, and it showed that at the system like and like started up again, and that shutting down the system actually worked. But then, yeah, they yeah, then Arnold then saw that he just had to actually head down to the maintenance shed to complete the entire rebooting process to turn on all the systems again. And then so then, yeah, as he went to do that, like everyone else was waiting in the emergency bunker. But then, yeah, after like Arnold like didn't come back, then Ellie and Robert then and went out to try to find Arnold and turn the system back on themselves. And so then, and yeah, they then went out, and as they then discovered that the shutdown actually also deactivated all the other fences in the park, that and including the one that contained the velociraptors. Then Robert then just stayed behind to try to distract the raptors as Ellie went to the shed to turn the power back on. And yeah, and then as uh, Alan, Lex, and Tim then were able to avoid the Tyrannosaurus and a Gallimimus stampede. Gallimimus, is that how it's said? Yeah. Then they eventually approached the electric fence to climb back over to get to the visitor center, but then, that's the greatest dad joke ever, where Dr. Grant like was pretending to be electrocuted by the fence, but he wasn't. That's like the greatest dad joke ever. Every time I see it, I just laugh. Yeah. Then they then like started to climb over, and then as Ellie was then turning turning on like all the systems again, then like Tim ended up like being electrocuted while holding onto the fence and just fell back, and then but yeah, Alan was able to revive Tim with CPR, and then yeah, Ellie then restored all the systems back up, but then yeah, she ended up being attacked by a velociraptor, and then yeah, then eventually like revealed that Arnold had been killed after like showing his arm was now severed. Yeah, and then as Ellie was running from the velociraptors, it then showed Robert was like preparing to shoot one of the raptors, but then another one ended up appearing and catching Robert off guard and ended up attacking and killing him. Yeah. And then eventually, then Dr. Grant, Tim, and Lex then were able to get back to the visitor center, and as Alan then went out to try to find Ellie, then as Lex and Tim were like left in the visitor center, then like showed that there were more velociraptors in there with them. I mean, uh, Lex and Tim then tried to hide, but then yeah, the velociraptors eventually like ended up chasing them into an industrial kitchen. But yeah, Lex and Tim were able to avoid them and even locked one in a freezer. And then yeah, eventually Alan and Ellie then came back. And then yeah, the raptors then chased all four of them into the control center, where yeah, Ellie was then trying to reboot the entire system to lock the doors. Of course, but then as like Alan and Ellie were trying to bolt the door to stop all the Velociraptors from getting in, then Lex then was able to restore all the power to the entire park, and then yeah, then Alan then was able to contact Hammond him to tell them that everything was back on and that he can now call for help. And then the Raptors then continued to chase the four of them back down into the visitor center. And just as the four of them seemed to be cornered by the Raptors, as the Raptors were about to attack and kill them, then the T-Rex then just suddenly appeared and ended up uh, attacking the Raptors and killing them. And then as that was going on, that allowed Alan, Ellie, Lex, and Tim to escape. And then then Hammond then arrived in a jeep with Ian, and yeah, they were all then able to retreat, and then they were able to get to a helicopter, and then the helicopter then took off and left the island. And yeah, it was interesting how, in that just that last part where they were just in the helicopter, there was nothing spoken, not one word was spoken in that time, and it just showed Ellie looking at Alan as he was clutching both Lex and Tim as if now he wants kids, because of course they are lovers in this film. And yeah, at the start of the film, he was talking about he didn't want children, but yeah, Ellie did like children, and so yeah, and it seemed here Alan was now ready to have kids and stuff. Yeah, but of course that didn't end up going anywhere, as we would see in the later movie. But anyway, and then that's how it ended, just by showing the helicopter taking off and leaving the island. So yeah. So a really great film, like I said, 3.75 stars out of 4. I mean, it really is one of my favorite films ever, and yeah, it really is a masterpiece, and of course, everybody has seen it, so I don't even need to recommend it. So yeah, just a really great classic, and it just really has, the effects still do hold up, and this film really has stood the test of time. So yeah, just a really phenomenal film, and of course, due to how successful this film was, as in how much money it made. Of course, after this, there was of course a lot of hype for a sequel, and then then of course Steven Spielberg listened to that, and then there was, due to all the hype for the sequel, Steven Spielberg then made another one. The result for that sequel, though, well, we'll talk about that next time. Yeah, but so my review for the sequel, the first sequel, will be coming up next. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But regardless of how the sequel turns out, this is still a great film. So yeah, just a real absolute classic. So yeah, like I just said, I mean, I would recommend it, but yeah, you've already seen it, so I don't even need to. All right, so yeah, I guess this is all I can really say about it, and this is the best I can put it. All right, so yeah, so I guess this does it for my review of Jurassic Park. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.